Busy June. In the next 2 weeks, Pope Francis travels to Bosnia, meets with Russia's president, and releases a landmark encyclical. Better understanding. The Archbishop of Repeal, Iraq, works to streamline aid to better serve the suffering there. Duggar family scandal. The parents of Josh Duggar speak openly about molestation charges against their son. And prayerful pilgrimage. Each step taken on this walk is offered in reparation for sins. Those stories and more on EWTN News Nightly for Thursday, June 4th, 2015. Good evening. Thank you for joining us. I'm Brian Patrick with your news now. The Vatican puts to rest speculation about the timing of the Pope's new encyclical. The papal teaching will be released 2 weeks from tonight, June 18th. We learned just recently it will likely be titled Laudato Si, or Praised Be. That's a phrase from St. Francis of Assisi's Canticle of Creatures. The Vatican press office, though, still won't confirm that title. The Church has long championed caring for creation, and Pope Francis is outspoken about it. Questions remain about the approach his teaching will take on the debated issue of climate change. Some of the other stories our EWTN News Nightly team has been covering in today's world. The Archbishop of Repeal testifies today at the Vatican about the humanitarian crisis in Iraq. Chaldean Archbishop Bashar Mati Warda is worried some efforts may be duplicated while others in need are ignored. He says it is a good delegation, or it's good that a delegation from the Holy See visited Erbil, experienced the situation firsthand. He hopes it gives them a better understanding of the needs of the people so funds can be allocated according to those needs. Following the Islamic State takeover of Ramadi, Iraq's prime minister is now pressing for more support to fight ISIS. He says Iraq's military needs more intelligence and action from international allies. During this Tuesday conference in Paris, the U.S. Deputy Secretary of State said the U.S. will redouble its efforts. Michael Rubin joins us from the American Enterprise Institute, a group of scholars and supporters committed to expanding liberty. You addressed the House Foreign Affairs Subcommittee regarding the U.S. policy toward ISIS. What do you think of the strategy or lack of it?
Well, at this point, it's clear that whatever strategy we have isn't working. On September 10th, President Obama said that he was going to degrade and destroy the Islamic State, and yet it looks like they're on the offensive. One of the issues we need to recognize, however, and one of the reasons why our strategy isn't successful, is we're still trying to pursue the idea that Islamic State's rise is based in grievance, that if only we resolve some of the political problems in Baghdad, the threat of the Islamic State will go away. But it's really based in ideology. I mean, after all, how else do you explain its spread to Libya, to the Sinai Peninsula, in reality from Malaysia to Morocco?
What do you think needs to change, Michael? Do we need to go so far as to putting troops on the ground at some point?
Well, ultimately we may. We need to make some decisions. It's not accurate to say that the Islamic Army doesn't fight, as Secretary of Defense Ash Carter quipped. You know, they fought in Ramadi for 6 months before they fell. Now, if we don't believe that they can make use of the weaponry or that they might lose it to the Islamic State, then we need to talk about more air power, or we need to make the decision to let the Islamic State win, which I think would be pretty unpalatable.
Switching gears momentarily, you lived in Iran after the revolution there. There are some family members of prisoners in Iran that are pressuring the president to get them released. What do you think, based on your experience, that we should or could do?
Well, ultimately, the Iranians are taking these hostages to humiliate the United States, and also certain segments of the Iranian power structure are suggesting that they have no interest in rapprochement with the United States, specifically the Ministry of Intelligence and the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. We need to think long and hard about our nuclear strategy, because it's the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps which would have command and custody over any military aspects of Iran's nuclear program. If the reformers with whom we're negotiating say, well, we can't control these guys, that's as good as saying they can't deliver on any nuclear agreement they make.
All right, from the American Enterprise Institute, Michael Rubin, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Brian.
And there are now 10 Former Texas Governor Rick Perry is the latest Republican to officially launch a bid for the White House. It's his second campaign for the Republican presidential nomination. His first in 2012 was marred by debate and speech stumbles. Perry made it official today outside Dallas. He is now on to Iowa for an event benefiting a nonprofit that provides service dogs to wounded veterans. Former Florida Governor Jeb Bush is now expected to officially join that race June 15th in Miami. He teased the announcement on Twitter this morning. Bush has been touring the country as a prospective candidate for the last few months. Former Rhode Island Governor Lincoln Chafee plans to seek the Democratic presidential nomination. Get this, he served as a Republican U.S. Senator and was elected governor as an independent. Chafee joined the Democratic Party just 3 years ago. He formally announced his intention to run for president as a Democrat on Wednesday. Reality TV stars Jim Bob and Michelle Duggar break their silence about sexual molestation allegations involving their son Josh. As they scramble to manage this scandal, more information is revealed, some of it quite graphic. Wyatt Goolsby reports.
The patriarch and matriarch of TLC's 19 Kids and Counting appeared on Fox News' Kelly File to address the scandal. Josh Duggar, as a teenager, fondled 5 young girls.
This was not rape or anything like that. And then he came to us and was crying and told us what happened.
Jim Bob and Michelle Duggar say it kept happening.
We were devastated, and we said, we've got to send him out of the home. He has got to go.
The Duggars explained most of the victims were family members.
4 of the victims were Josh Duggar's sisters. It's hard to even say out loud. I think for some fans, this is going to sound like a really significant apology, but to many people, this was minimizing something that was very horrific.
The scandal came to light in juvenile records released to a tabloid magazine. Wednesday, Jim Bob questioned why there hasn't been more attention focused on that leak. He says the information was released illegally, violating the privacy of the victims. Wyatt Goolsby, EWTN News Nightly.
Thank you, Wyatt. Hopes of finding any more survivors inside the capsized Eastern Star cruise ship in China are now fading. Rescuers say they're hearing no signs of life at the accident site on the Yangtze River in central China. Authorities say 77 bodies have now been recovered. At last report, there are only 14 known survivors and more than 360 people still missing. Divers are doing all they can to try to rescue those still trapped inside the capsized ship. President Obama will speak at the Catholic Health Association Annual Assembly next Tuesday here in Washington. Organizers confirm the president will deliver the assembly's closing address on the future of health care. The CHA supports the Affordable Care Act, known as Obamacare, which is opposed by the U.S. Bishops' Conference. The Catholic Health Association represents hundreds of Catholic hospitals in the United States. Vice President Joe Biden, his family and friends pay respect to Biden's oldest son, Beau. Delaware's former Attorney General died Saturday of brain cancer at the age of 46. Beau Biden's son and daughter clung to their mother and grandmother during a memorial in the Delaware State Capitol today. Alongside the flag-draped casket was a conspicuous service cross for his service in the National Guard. His massive Christian burial is this Saturday at St. Anthony of Padua in Wilmington. Nebraska's governor says his administration plans to proceed with executions of 10 death row inmates. The state legislature there repealed the death penalty last week over the governor's veto, but that new law won't go into effect for 3 months. We're using Skype to connect with Archbishop George Lucas in Omaha, Nebraska. Your Excellency, the Nebraska bishops back this repeal of the death penalty. Of course, the church allows for the death penalty in certain circumstances. Why do you support this ban?
I think the bishops of Nebraska are looking at this in the same way that St. John Paul II has done, and his successors, understanding that there is really not the necessity to resort to another act of violence to restore justice, even in the case of serious crimes. And so we've invited our Catholic people, but really people across the state, to think if there isn't a way to keep and restore justice that will promote a culture of life.
And what is the most humane alternative that would also give at least some satisfaction or some justice to the victims and their families?
We have have and must have great compassion for the victims of crime and for their families. And really all of us in society feel the effects of those crimes. So they cry out for justice. And I think it's important that we see always that justice is restored. It's possible to sentence convicted criminals to life imprisonment without parole. The fact of the matter is that there have not been any executions carried out here in Nebraska for many years, and those on death row are kept very safely in prison, and we really believe that that the community is not at all threatened by their continued life.
Do you think there could and should be specific reforms to the criminal justice system so that we can really approach this in a different way?
We hope there would be, and we've been calling for that here in Nebraska as well. I think the Holy Fathers recently have, and we see this very clearly, have invited us to understand that God's grace is always being offered, and our hope is that there can be an opportunity for repentance and conversion during the time that those convicted of serious crimes are living out their sentences in prison, and that's what we would like both to work for and to pray for.
Archbishop George Lucas of Omaha, Nebraska, thank you so much, Your Excellency, for being with us tonight.
Thank you, Brian.
Coming up, police in Sarajevo tighten security ahead of Saturday's visit to Bosnia by Pope Francis. And we meet the Sisters of Mary, who are visiting D.C. to celebrate their founder, Venerable Aloysius Schwartz. On Thursday, this June 4th, thanks for joining us for EWTN News Nightly. I'm Brian Patrick. Well, the Vatican confirms Pope Francis will meet with Russian President Vladimir Putin June 10th. Meanwhile, the Holy Father visits Bosnia's capital of Sarajevo this weekend. The Pope's visit Saturday aims at building unity in a country ravaged by war 2 decades ago. Traffic will be closed for vehicles in the capital as police train for special papal security.
The security is always concerned. There are always people who do not like people who bring peace and stability.
More than 60,000 people are expected to attend Mass celebrated by Francis at the city stadium. This is the third visit by a pope to Bosnia since the end of the war in the mid-1990s. Alan Holdren covers the Vatican. He joins us from Rome. Alan, this is a quick trip for the Pope. What do you know about his schedule?
Well, Brian, the Pope is only going to be gone for about 12 hours. He's going to hit the ground running. He's meeting with the authorities there, political and religious representatives. He's also going to celebrate Mass for tens of thousands of people in the Olympic Stadium there in Sarajevo. Afterwards, he's going to be meeting with young people, with members of interreligious dialogue commissions, religious leaders there in Bosnia. He's also going to be speaking with the local bishops there over lunch. So he's got a jam-packed trip. On his way back, he'll be giving his in-flight press conference, so he's got plenty to do on Saturday.
This is the third pope to visit this tiny nation since the war ended in '95. Why so much focus on Bosnia-Herzegovina?
You have to imagine, Brian, that 100,000 people were killed there just between 1992 and 1995. 15,000 of those there in the capital city of Sarajevo. This is a place that's been absolutely destroyed by interreligious and interethnic conflict. They're the Orthodox, the Muslims, and the Catholics. They're divided by their nationality, their ethnicity, Serbian, Bosnian, and Croat. This has really been a focus of this pontificate, is to invite peaceful coexistence. The Pope is going there in person to invite these people one by one to live together and try to overcome these tensions that have really divided them.
Alan Holdren, thanks for joining us from Rome tonight.
Thanks, Brian.
And Pope Francis celebrates the Feast of Corpus Christi, or the Body of Christ, in Rome tonight. The Holy Father held Mass in front of the Basilica of St. John Lateran, that is his home cathedral there in Rome. Italians then gathered on the streets of Rome for a Eucharistic procession. Most churches across the world celebrate the solemnity of the body and blood of Christ this coming Sunday. The Vatican's calendar stays with tradition, marking this solemnity on Thursday after Holy Trinity Sunday. A man killed by police in Boston planned to behead the organizer of a Prophet Muhammad cartoon contest in Texas. Investigators say he set out to kill police this week and was not acting alone. Court documents paint a disturbing picture of the man killed in this parking lot. Law enforcement sources say Usama Rahim planned to behead Pamela Geller. She's a conservative blogger and the organizer of a Prophet Muhammad cartoon contest in Garland, Texas. Police killed 2 ISIS sympathizers outside the event after coming under attack.
It won't end with me. no matter what happens to me, or the cops. This is just the beginning. ISIS is here. Islamic terrorism is here.
Investigators say Rahim couldn't wait and switched his target to police officers. According to court documents, Rahim told someone police were the easiest to kill. About 2 hours later, officers killed Rahim after they say he lunged at them with a large knife. Prosecutors say Rahim plotted attacks with the knowledge of David Wright and another man. Wednesday, Wright appeared in court. The FBI says Wright and Rahim used code words to talk about killing police. In one recorded phone call, Wright says, "You're attempting to go on vacation, I see." Rahim replies, "Yeah, I'm going to be on vacation right here in Massachusetts." The FBI says Wright confessed that an attack on police was supposed to take place this week. Investigators say ISIS and other extremists radicalized Rahim. The case has highlighted fears about the deepening reach of the terror group in the United States. U.S. officials say it only takes online communication for ISIS operatives to inspire, train, and plot attacks in the U.S.
This is the new wave, the new generation of terrorism. It's gone viral, it's very dangerous, and it's very hard to stop.
Wright faces up to 5 years in prison if convicted on terrorism and conspiracy-related charges. A hearing on his case will be held in 2 weeks. Washington's Cardinal Donald Wuerl celebrates a massive Thanksgiving this coming Sunday for recently declared Venerable Aloysius Schwartz. 2 Asian religious sisters traveled to D.C. for that Mass and to better know the founder of their order. Catherine Szeltner has that story tonight.
To know a saint is something very special.
Following the steps of a saint is easy in Washington, D.C. In January, Father Aloysius Schwartz became the first D.C. native declared venerable, meaning he's 2 miracles away from being recognized as saint.
It was here at Holy Name where the now venerable Aloysius Schwartz received the sacraments of baptism, First Holy Communion, confirmation, and served as an altar boy.
Father Al, as he's known, was a champion for the poor, serving street children in Mexico, the Philippines, and Korea. He also founded 2 religious congregations, including the Sisters of Mary. Today, 2 sisters from that order got to see where their founder's faith began to bloom. Sister Elena worked with Father Al when he brought the Sisters of Mary to the Philippines.
Usually I am afraid to talk with usually foreigners, you know, and then to speak English. But then talking with him, you feel at home, and I could feel that he was really holy.
Sisters Elena and Maria are also sharing what they know about their founder.
He used to jog every day, and he encouraged us to also jog with the children because, as he said, and we experience, it helps us to have that patience and the endurance to do whatever we should do.
Father Michael Breeze is pastor of Holy Name.
You know, Father Al is a Washingtonian, an American, and he grew up just in an average family. It was hard times because it was the Great Depression, but he shows us that ordinary people can do extraordinary things.
A reminder, we're all called to live out the gospel. Catherine Szeltner, EWTN News Nightly.
Up next, what's on your bucket list? You won't believe what this guy has in mind.
Reviving a medieval tradition. We're going on pilgrimage. Join us next.
We're so grateful you could join us for this Thursday edition of EWTN News Nightly. I'm Brian Patrick. Well, it was a move that angered pro-life students at a Wisconsin Catholic college. St. Norbert's College invited abortion rights activist Gloria Steinem to speak on campus. Pro-life students countered by inviting Feminists for Life to share their message that women deserve better than abortion. Saren Foster is president of Feminists for Life, and the terms feminist and pro-life seem to conflict. Can you clear that up?
Oh, I'm so glad you know that it really isn't an oxymoron. It's very consistent. The early American feminists, without any known opposition, they all condemned abortion, and they did it consistently. And so we very proudly at Feminists for Life continue their tradition of opposing abortion and really focusing on the root causes that drive women to abortion.
So when and how did feminism become connected with abortion rights.
Unfortunately, the second wave women's movement was betrayed and convinced by the founders of NARAL, who believed that abortion should be a right of women. And they sold this right to them. Dr. Bernard Nathanson was one of the co-founders. We know later on he became pro-life. But meanwhile, Feminists for Life had begun, and we knew that abortion betrayed women. The other factor, of course, was Sarah Weddington, who betrayed women with her argument before the courts, saying that women need to have an abortion, those who are poor, young women, those in the working place, those in the schools. And today we know that abortion's a failure because all of those same groups are having most of the abortions, including college students.
And Feminists for Life really does focus on college campuses, doesn't it?
They are a group at high risk of abortion, along with the poor and women who've already had children. And we know that they're going to be the leaders in every area. So we must reach them because they're at high risk now and because they are the ones that can change the world. They know in their hearts that women deserve better, and fathers deserve better than having their children aborted as well. And so many of them have been affected because they've lost siblings as well. So it's very complicated when we talk to them, and we reach them with our heart and with our logic and with our rich feminist history, and they're so great. The Knights for Life at St. Norbert's, and actually the president was very receptive to our message. He came to my event. After inviting Gloria Steinem to the school, he did invite me to come as well, and I was very grateful for that opportunity. And we look forward to working with the president of the school and the administration at the behest of the community, and especially the pro-life students there who believe that women deserve better too.
All right, the president of Feminists for Life, Sarah Foster, thanks for joining us.
Brian.
Thank you. Well, a group of Catholic seminarians and lay pilgrims revive an old medieval tradition, and Jason Calvi travels with them tonight.
The rain is no match for men on a mission. It's not a normal walk in the park. Seminarians of the priestly fraternity of St. Peter and laity are on a 3-day pilgrimage.
We're trying to sanctify ourselves first because you can't give what you don't have. So by us doing this pilgrimage, we hope to light a fire in our souls and hearts and in these boys.
And asking God's forgiveness.
You know, we pray for sinners.
They're walking from here in Maryland to Washington, D.C.
We've also had
talking, reflecting, praying.
It sort of sets you away from the rest of the world and gives you a little chance to kind of slow down and think about things of God.
And a silent message to the people they pass along the way.
Maybe that will help light something in them, a little spark of energy and faith.
But they're also helped by others, like the time they didn't have a lighter to start their dinner fire. They said a prayer, and then a man entered.
He just carried all this stuff with him. He needed to get rid of it, and he had like 5 extra lighters. So, you'd be surprised just how many things happen on the pilgrimage. I think lives are changed on it.
Most of the 55-mile journey is spent here along the C&O Canal. It used to bring goods to market more than 100 years ago, but what's happening here today is much older than that.
Back in olden days, they'd make pilgrimages like this to the Holy Land and other places, so that we could pray and that we could come together and, ask God to, forgive us these sins, and so that we can move forward as a people.
They'll finish Saturday night with a traditional solemn high mass at the National Shrine, thanking God for his blessings. On pilgrimage, Jason Calvi, EWTN News Nightly.
Thank you, Jason. From the somewhat serious to the slightly silly as we leave you tonight, a great-great-grandfather fulfills an unconventional wish on his bucket list at age 91. Watch. Walter Thomas wanted to smash a car through a garage door. His family helped him do it. One grandson located an old junk car. Another found a garage that friends planned to demolish, and with a small crowd of family and friends watching, he burst through those wooden garage doors.
Well, it was like breaking a wooden box, sort of a crash, crunch. Pieces flew. I don't know what I could do to top it. Getting too old to top anything. Just live life to the extreme.
Indeed. His wife of 70 years calmly stood by and watched the whole thing, undoubtedly shaking her head. And a warning, kids, don't try that at home. Until tomorrow, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, watch again on EWTN's YouTube page. I'd like to see that one again. For the EWTN News Nightly team, I'm Brian Patrick. Good night and God bless.